Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back.
Welcome to God Talk.
Welcome to God Talk. We have our
Hallelujah.
first guest.
Woo!
First guest, Father Joe. Father Joe is a Catholic priest. We're going to leave it at that. He's a Catholic priest,
Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic priest. He's here to give his perspective. He's here to put a little paint where it ain't and expand our consciousness.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
That's Medene. I'm James. This is Father Joe. Father Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for coming on to God Talk. Today's topic is faith. We figure you might know a little something about faith.
And this is a part of a series.
It's part of a series. The first part of the series. Who first gave you the gift of faith?
When I read that question the other day, I was like, I don't think anybody gave me that. I mean, it's all given to us, right? Faith is always given to us. And I was thinking about my own situation growing up. My grandfather was a convert. He went to Notre Dame and became Catholic there. His sister converted the same time. They didn't know each other were converting. So when I would go to his house in upstate New York, if you stayed with him, you always went to mass. And then when I was little, I went and lived with my other set of grandparents, and they only lived like 30 miles from each other. And we would walk to mass because church was close. So I started in the Latin church because back then everybody went to Latin. It wasn't into first grade that they changed to English or French or.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I've always one of my cousins one time said to me, "You make it. Your faith comes so easy to you."
It does seem pretty. It seems pretty natural.
Yeah. So
It doesn't seem forced.
It doesn't. It was never something I did not have. Even my classmates would tell you the same thing. They used to call me in first, second grade. Oh, he's gonna be a priest. Like, not me. But I think faith has always been a part of who I am. And I remember when the same grandfather passed away. So we were living in Texas at the time. My parents went to New York, so we were living with my dad's sister. And I remember when I got the news that he had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was crying because I was very close to him. This is my mom's dad. And I remember I went into a room. So I'm like, gotta be 6. I'm like 5.5.
Yeah.
And she comes in the room afterwards and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "A God." And she said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, don't you talk to God?" She said, "Yes." And that was the only time. The next day, it was Sunday. And we never missed mass, right? And I said, "I'm not going to mass." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm still mad." And so my older cousins, like 15, 16, "Oh, we stay home with Joe. We stay home."
They found religion too.
Yeah, so I would say it's always been a part of who I am. I couldn't, like when people say, I remember growing up in the South, you probably,
Mm-hmm.
when were you born? When were you born again?
Right. When were you saved?
Yeah, when you were saved.
I like that question.
It's like, I don't know. I think every day you have to be saved, right?
Mhm.
It's not one day that you're saved and you make it. It's your actions and how you live out your faith every single day. And some days are more challenging than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
But there was something there, and other people saw it.
Yes. And I just took it for granted. If that
You're
makes
just
sense.
being Joe.
Being who? Yeah.
You're just being Joe.
Yeah.
Talk about the magazine. Talk about the article that we're kind of utilizing as a base.
Yeah. So in preparing for today, which was sort of my responsibility, I looked at a few pieces of data about the faith of Americans. So we've got poll data from Pew, 2023, Gallup 2023, and then YouGov survey data from 2024, which we'll get into.
Mhm.
But there's also an America magazine article by Jason Mangone.
The Jesuits.
Yeah, Jesuits. We've all had. I think that's
Yeah.
been impactful in all of our lives.
You and I both were educated by the Jesuits.
And I knew Drew. Drew used to be before he died, he used to be in charge of the magazine.
Okay.
So I mean, that article is talking about faith in America, but not so much from the point of view of statistics, but sort of experiences and anecdotes. I mean, he talks a little bit about faith, politics, faith in different regions of the country. Father, you've been sent to different parts of the country and even different parts of the world. Have you noticed that faith is different in LA versus, the deep south or, outside of the country? What's your experience of that?
And kind of describe it.
Okay. So I would say in the deep south growing up, because he talked about his experience. I'm trying to think, where was he Tennessee or
Something like that.
yeah, I think it was Tennessee. Growing up, and that was something everybody did.
Right.
And so we went to Catholic schools. So I grew up mostly in Austin, but not just Austin. And we were a member of a parish.
Yep.
And so that was something that you did. We had the sisters and the brothers in the grade school, and we had the Monsignor and the other priests. And a lot of them, they would always be at our house eating, cooking. My mom would be cooking for them. A lot of community. I also remember.
It was expected. That was a part of living.
I don't know if it was how it was raised.
Yeah.
And I think my parents are the same way. So my mom's grandmother came from Canada, and she came because the priest in her town, before she got there, of course, but liked her cooking, and so he invited her to come to the United States.
Okay.
So she brought her whole family. He happened to be a millionaire, so like no kid in that parish in upstate New York, I guess I could say the parish, St. John's, actually ever paid for school. Like he paid for everything, and then he bought them a house, and then their whole family lived in that house. And so she always grew up with the nuns and the priests and cooking and all that. And so I think it was just part of her experience. And my dad, because his father was a convert, went to Notre Dame. His mother's Irish Catholic. Two of his sisters were nuns. That was just yeah. So that was just, it was not out of the ordinary for us to have religious at the table. And it back then, so you're talking about 60s and 70s, that was all part of us growing up. Like our church family was just like a family.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I think you and I can relate to that, Medene. For us, our exposure to God and faith and church, there's this whole cast of characters. It's not just I show up to services, say my prayers, and go home. There's a crew that comes with that, and they might come to your house. You might be at the church basement. There's different festivals that mark the different parts of the year.
It's very communal.
And we cleaned the church on Saturdays, and taught CCD and went to CCD. And like the church was everybody's second home.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to talk about was in times of stress or trauma, like if someone died or someone was killed in an accident, which we don't do any longer, but we would do 24-hour vigils with the coffins in the church.
Really?
And and so my dad would always pick like 2 to 3 in the morning, and so that's when our family would go to church, be with the body, and then another families would come in.
What do you
And
think the meaning was behind that?
I think it was just the unity, and that everybody was mourning in their own way.
Okay.
And it was a prayer for the family left behind, and a prayer of sadness, but also joy that the person's going to heaven. At least that's what we believe.
That is probably a series of important memories for me as a kid, being taught how to deal with death, that in with faith, but community.
Yes.
You would see everybody at the wake, at the funeral home, at the viewing in the church.
and at the celebration after.
Yeah, and if somebody wasn't there, it was like, what on where on earth could they possibly be?
Mhm.
We're all here. We're all even if you don't go to church, you'll be there for the wake and the funeral
Mhm.
and the party after.
Yeah.
Was it your tradition? I know in the Black Pentecostal church, it was our tradition that when someone passed away, all the people in the community and a part of the church would bring food to the family's house.
Oh gosh.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, for
So
for a
this is
long
a-
time.
This
But-
is a human thing.
But we didn't do it for 9 days.
We do it for at least until after the funeral.
We didn't have that much ice.
Yes, you had to have a couple of refrigerators to take all that food in.
It's true. It's true. Sometimes
And
you're
people
overwhelmed.
didn't care if it was too much. They just brought it
Right.
That's true.
because they were just going to love on you.
I
Yeah.
heard Aunt Lena brought a spaghetti casserole, and guess what? So did I.
We got more.
No, you got 2.
But that's how people loved on people.
Yep.
In a
Yeah.
time of crisis.
And then I think they still do. I saw that in Mexico when I lived in Mexico, and
Okay.
I lived in Mexico during COVID. I did see a decrease, only because people we were the last to get I lived in a very poor area, so we were the last to get the shots and all that. So they were, and we wore a mask every day. We didn't complain.
So this is during COVID.
This is during COVID. And so normally where you could probably fit 300-400 people in the church,
Yeah.
you probably had 50 because there were
And
yeah.
to me, that is a loss of faith.
I don't think the church has recovered from COVID.
To me,
Mm.
that is a loss of faith as much as any statistic about what people do or don't believe.
Yeah.
The way I was raised, not getting the community together and of various levels of belief, right? I grew up with a lot of people going to church who maybe didn't always believe everything, but not getting everybody together meant that everybody lost something.
Right.
it.
Right.
That's it.
Everybody lost out if we are not getting together.
Yeah. St. Paul said it, forsake not the fellowship of the saints.
Yeah. Because we had the women's group, the men's group, barbecues. We had, cleaning. We had rosary societies. We had outreach. I remember as a kid, oftentimes going to nursing homes to visit people. Even though I couldn't give out the communion, you would just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings me to my question. Okay.
Please.
Is it Mangon? Jason Mangon?
Mangone.
He says that faith shaped my family's habits, which in turn shaped my own. Let's talk about how faith shapes our family and personal habits. What are
See,
things?
I don't know if I would go with that 100%.
Okay.
Because there's four of us in my family.
Yeah.
The 2 of us in the middle are very faithful
Okay.
and don't miss. Well, I don't have an excuse to miss, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the 2 on the ends, we all experience the same things and
They miss sometimes.
they miss. Well, one I think's missed for decades, and the other one, I think they go, but they don't always go.
Mhm.
I mean,
But we all experience the same thing.
Well, and to put it that way, I think for me in my life, there were the parts of faith that I experienced in my family that made the most sense to me that I kept, or that I think of fondly.
Name one thing specifically.
If I hear an ambulance siren, I'll stop and say a little prayer.
Okay.
Usually Hail Mary.
There you go.
Past the cemetery.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but
Yeah.
there are the parts of it that I don't want to say were religiously traumatic, but were just religiously heavy that I don't do. I rarely sit down and pray a whole rosary. It just always felt like too much.
The rosary is kind of long. Love the rosary.
You can do a
Come-
rosary in 15 minutes.
But see, I don't. Okay, so can we go off on a little tangent?
But I
real
think
quick?
the rosary, okay, if we were talking about the rosary,
Yeah.
it's a device, right? A religious device to take us away so that we can consecrate. concentrate, right? So hopefully, when you're repeating the Hail Marys, Our Father, you're not concentrating on every word because you should know those, right? You're concentrating on what is God trying to tell me
Okay.
about what I'm trying to pray. So it's a way of meditation,
Meditation.
just
Okay.
like the beads that the Muslims use.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like a almost like a trance,
Yeah.
and sort of to take you away.
And that prayer bead tradition is kind of universal throughout
Oh,
all kinds of
many.
religions and people groups and cultures,
Mhm.
right?
But am I a worse believer if I only make it through the first 5 beads?
No,
I
because
I
maybe that's all you need, right?
I know my grandmother would give me a look right now if she were alive, but I'm a first 5 beads guy.
Well, I come from the Pentecostal tradition, so it was a little weird to sit down and pray the rosary. And one thing I didn't like is that I felt Catholics were praying it too fast.
Okay.
When he's saying that's exactly how he prays it.
Yeah.
You-
But the speed is not a problem, you're saying.
Right. But I do a different rosary. I do the meditation rosary. So it's every Hail Mary has a Bible verse to it.
Ooh, his rosary's long.
He's Southern Catholic.
That's long. We'll be there all
Sprinkling in
night.
scripture.
I would love it.
Maybe
because
20 minutes. Okay.
I want them to slow down a little
Yeah.
bit because we're praying.
I was
We're not
like
just
that.
chanting. Some of them treat it like chanting.
Yeah.
Straight through. Hail Mary, full of grace. Like, come on. We're not just chanting.
I see.
But
Even though we are.
I grew up disliking my dad doing that. We would sit down for family rosary every once in a while.
Family that prays together
Together
stays
stays
together.
together.
Thank you,
Which
Holy
is-
Cross.
Which is true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
Father Peyton.
yeah,
Oh, that comes from
That's
him?
Father Peyton.
Yeah.
Yep.
but now at almost 30, I'm like, sign me up for that. Like I know what it is. I know the words. I know what it's about. I have a positive intention. Let's just jump on the Zoom train. Zoom.
But I think more importantly is how is your prayer life, right? That's the important part. So if you need the rosary, if you need Eucharistic adoration, whatever you need in order that you have that. And some people do it out in nature. Some people do it
yeah.
running. Some people do it driving, right? I know people that listen to the podcast or listen to the rosary as they're driving to work. If with our society today, right, you would have to fit everything in. Whereas in the old days, all day was Sunday, and the families would, have a picnic afterwards, and they would take their time going to church, and like church was more than just the hour in mass.
Mhm.
Church was a celebration.
And so you're saying in your life and in your ministry, you are more than comfortable with faith looking a little bit different for different people.
Correct.
That makes some people very uncomfortable.
Very.
Very. And it causes problems. People get called names.
Systematic theologians don't like that. He does relational theology.
Yes.
Let's keep going. What else from the article? Because I thought it was an intriguing one.
Yeah, Mangon talks about how upon returning to his hometown, because he kind of had left, I guess it was after college and with his family,
Yeah.
he comes back expecting his little church in New Jersey to be empty because he feels like the world is secularizing.
And yet he sees the same people.
He sees the same people and more and younger people.
Yes.
It's full.
Yeah.
So my question is that kind of our experience where we see this secular world, but in some unassuming way, people are actually seeking faith more than we think?
I think it depends on what they're experiencing and what they're going through.
Okay.
So, for instance, when I first would go to France, and you go to Notre Dame, like nobody would be there. Now, before it caught on fire, you'd have to get there an hour beforehand so you have a seat. I know in Normandy, when I would bring students to Normandy for different trips, we went for Easter Mass and we had to get there 2 hours early just so that we had a seat. And by the time Mass started, it was standing room only. And this is in one of those big Gothic cathedrals. I think that at least in Europe, they have had a resurgence of faith and belief. And I think in different parts of the states, we're doing the same thing. Um, I think even in what we just went through in the elections, I think that brought people to church or not to church, right?
Or
Right.
not to church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say there's two sides to
There's
that.
two sides, yes.
I'd say there's people who see church being
And
politicized.
yeah. And I would see like in Mexico, some churches would be full and standing room, and there'd be hundreds of people outside. And you might go 15 minutes down the road to another church and it's empty.
I think that's it.
And I think that it's the community, the fellowship. Do I feel like I get something out of it? Am I participating? Is this something that gives me life or not? Other than just a check.
Because you correct me if I'm wrong. The world you grew up in, right? With the parish system, say 50, 60 years ago, you went to the parish that was in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parish meant that's the
Well, especially
area-
in the South, because you were going to walk
right.
45 minutes to another
Other
church.
one. But
yeah.
we live in an era of destination faith.
Right.
This is the temple. This is the parish. This is the non-denominational church that does it for me, and I'm going to go to the one that does it for me.
Well, I was talking with someone earlier this week about popping around, because
Uh-huh.
I agree that there was a generation that went to the parish that was nearest them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Or
me-
the Pentecostal church nearest them.
yeah, but me moving to Los Angeles, recently converting to Catholicism in 2019, I like to pop around and experience different parishes and their worship life. And I like to pop around to different priests that I like.
Well, I think too in LA you have different cultures, right?
Okay, so hold on real quick. That was my question. Also, my second part of the question, how much of this is culturally relative?
I think it's very cultural relative, depending on where you're going. Yeah.
Because I got 4 or 5 priest friends in LA, and I like going into all of their churches. I haven't really committed to one.
And
Is
you're
that a problem?
well, and you're
Why would
saying
it be a problem?
Okay.
but in certain cultures, you're more likely to hop or not hop, right?
Describe that.
I would say
Kentucky?
Hey.
no. I would in certain
What's it
areas,
like in
but
Kentucky?
even in LA,
Okay.
if different ethnic and cultural groups are maybe more or less likely to hop.
Talk about it.
I think that's probably true.
No, no, give me your
I think
experience, though.
I think what he's saying is like the church that I went to
Yeah.
was basically in the South, was basically Czechoslovakian.
Okay.
Okay. So they had their family group and they welcomed others because we came from Kentucky. Other people came. Well, a lot of people came from Kentucky because IBM moved like 2,000 families. But
Yeah.
And
but
they're
they
not
welcomed
hoppers.
us. No, and we all participated in that church.
Okay.
Whereas in LA, where you have a variety of cultures,
Yeah.
all settling. I mean, you have what, 10 million people or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
And
That-
if there's the 4 churches that offer massive Vietnamese,
I'm going to find the one that's best for me and my family.
And if there's 4 of those, but then 20 other ones that aren't offering that, and you're looking for massive Vietnamese, you're gonna hop less.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're a part of the quote unquote dominant group, right? If you're English speaking Catholic and you're in LA and Father so and so says a homily that's too right for you or too left for you, or I didn't like the music today, it's not gonna be a big deal for you to go and find another mass in English.
So it's not
That's
only,
what I'm trying to say.
it's not only cultural, it's also political.
Oh, the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Father Joe, would you agree as a priest that
As a
Church-
police officer?
as a police officer in the Catholic Church,
Yeah, that's what they are.
church and politics come
always
together?
I always tell students it's important to go. So find the place that you get something out of.
Okay. Don't have to necessarily go to your
So,
local
so like
parish.
for instance, when I was a teenager and I could drive,
Yeah.
I didn't really like the pastor that I had.
Okay.
So it wasn't a problem for me to drive 15 minutes to go to the cathedral where I liked the pastor. Actually, it wasn't even the pastor because those were the bishop's the
Bishop,
pastor.
yeah.
It would be the rector. But they had a guy that was from South America, and he always talked about his experience in South America. So that always got me. Oh, that's interesting.
Expanded your
Expanded my
horizon.
horizon,
Yeah.
and finally, all those talks years later led me back to there to join that community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh. James, next question.
Let's we'll speaking of expanding horizons, we'll just kind of go backwards a little bit here. And a little more broad. Pew data from 2023. This is about people in the United States. 90% belief in a higher power.
Mm.
70% belief in heaven. 60% belief in hell.
I don't even get that.
I don't either, and I was thinking, I need to know where these people come from. I think that rural people might have a different
Right.
interpretation than city people,
Right.
Okay.
or fallen Catholics, or fallen people from whatever religion. I don't understand. Yeah, just like in that it talked about the gnomes.
Mm-hmm. The people who say they don't
They're
identify with
nothing.
anything.
But
Nuns.
yet they feel spiritual.
Well, that most Americans
Yeah.
clearly feel something. Would you, from your ministry, a few years here, do you feel like you've experienced that most people have some kind of belief? They believe in something, even if they can't describe it. They want to believe.
Yeah. I would say maybe 5% of all the people I've come across maybe had no faith,
Nothing.
or felt no spirituality. Just felt like we're born, we live, we die,
And that's it. What do you do if someone comes to talk to you, and I'm sure this has happened, and they say, Father Joe, I was raised one way, but I don't know what to believe anymore. How do you help them find peace? How do you help them find a direction? Because I would imagine you're not always telling them, here's a book, read this, believe this.
Yeah, I think most of it is by your interactions with people, right? So in my ministry, I'm often with families and extended family members, and so you have those with those type of people. You have
Yeah.
a small conversation, and then you get to know them better. And so I'd say you have to give them the extra time, right? As a minister, but just as a person of faith in general, you have to give them extra time because a lot of times they were turned off by a member of a church, right?
So we would all be comfortable saying that in our experience, a lot of people who aren't sure what they believe or if they ever want to go back to a religious institution again had something happen.
Right.
They heard something, somebody did something. But I mean, what words do you say? Someone says,
I think it's
Father
different.
Joe, I just don't even know anymore.
Well, that's when you have I think by having a conversation with them, so it'd be different, right?
Yeah.
So you have to give them the time
To get it all
to
out.
give it all out, and then you can talk and you can dialogue. It's not going to happen overnight, but encouraging them and showing them that God loves them too, right? Just by our own actions, I think attracts people versus being I'm just here for that. I'm sorry. I
Here's
don't
the
have time."
book.
Yeah.
Come back to me when you can agree with everything.
Right.
I would imagine that if I didn't know what I believed anymore, and I went to someone, a priest or a minister, a rabbi, who said the first thing to me was God loved you, that'd be a pretty positive start. But experiences in my life where I've said I'm not sure what I believe anymore about X, not the whole thing, but just a part of it, and people have looked at me like, "What's wrong with you? What do you mean? Like,
Probably because
get in line."
that was not their experience, or yeah, I think it's different for every person. Just like Jesus, right? In his whole ministry, he kept on ministering to people that had problems in different ways.
In the More in Common and YouGov article with the 2024 statistics, it states that 6% of the people in America express their faith without religious, well, they express their political views without religious language or religious concepts or understandings.
6% do.
6% do.
Do.
50% people still believe that
Other
their
people are
politi-
doing that.
their political views are influenced by religion.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that. Are people not doing the work of intersectionality? Are they not doing the work of integration? They believe their religious views, 50% of them believe that their religious views impact their politics, but they don't express their political views through religion. Only
I think
6%
that's
of them.
what we call the pick and choosing, right?
Okay.
What does it mean to be right for life, right?
Mhm. Oh,
Well, it's from
my God.
conception to natural death,
Womb to tomb.
womb to tomb, right? It's not just, oh, we got to take care of all these babies, but we can kill these people off. No, it's not about that.
So there's inconsistencies ideologically.
Yes.
And you think do you think people know that they're inconsistent, or do you think people give themselves a pass?
I think they give themselves a pass.
I think there's a problem with. I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this. This is a little
Not that I was trying to get political.
No. Let's go there. This is a little seasoning. People always talk about how they're not religious, but they're spiritual.
Mhm.
I think that's a load of crap. I said it. We're going to say at least one or two offensive things.
Okay.
We're going to make a couple of people upset.
All right.
Otherwise, we're not doing our jobs. I see it as a container, religion itself. I really think what these people ultimately are
Okay,
anti-institutional.
but it's in the Bible, right? Like the Roman soldier, I can't say
Centurion.
right? He wouldn't say that he was part of that faith, right? But he came to believe that Jesus was sent and had wonderful healing powers. So I think he was spiritual, but not a person of faith.
Yeah, that's a good example. But I just don't think that is.
I don't think it's a load of crap.
No, I don't think that is the experience that people are currently having. I think when people respond with that answer, they're not just talking about their individual.
Well, I always ask them, "What do you mean by? What do you mean you're spiritual? Can you explain that?"
Like that's the part that needs to be.
Yeah, I don't think they're just talking about a phenomenological experience that they're having with Jesus. I think they're trying to describe their own spiritual knowing without religion or institution at all. And I don't think that that's completely honest. All of our spiritualities have been shaped by these major world religions.
But some people haven't experienced those religions. I think
we-
that's
we
what-
are-
And that's what they're talking about.
We are now getting to a time in human history where there are people being born without a religious experience,
right,
or without an institutional religious experience. Whereas maybe it would have been harder to say that 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago.
100 years.
Think about the kids you and I teach.
But that might be on an individual level, but still in
The saying gets said by a lot of people who have experience
in their
religious, but some
environment.
haven't.
The institution is still there,
Mhm.
and they're still being informed by it. So they're not absent from it, even if they aren't personally religious.
Well, just like in that stat, it talked about Catholics, Jews, Muslims. Like I was surprised that Muslims that go all the time was only 38%. Jews was 31%. Catholics was what, 28% or something
It's
like that.
it's pretty low.
Yeah. I thought that was that was surprising to me.
With
The people that say they belong to this religion, that religion,
Oh.
or that religion, yet they're not consistent.
that is, according to the data, that is sort of the dominant way people participate, saying I'm still X, but I don't
Mhm.
typically go. But you told a story about watching this happen at a parish in Mexico during COVID.
Mhm.
Let's just say it is happening. We are not getting together as much as we used to. We started with stories of getting together and having everybody over for dinner. We're just not doing that as much as we used to. And we're certainly not doing it around religion as much as we used to. How do you think that affects our lives? How do you think, because I think it affects everybody, even if you still go. How does it affect, the world around us that we're not going to these places as much, that we're not getting together as much? Is it making us more awkward? Is it making it harder for us to understand each other?
I would say, just thinking about that, it's interesting, right? So we have our Catholic schools, but maybe only a percentage are Catholic.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have all these other religions, but and that's fine. And
Yeah,
you
not a
respect
problem.
them.
Yeah.
But when you don't go or participate,
Yeah.
then why are you sending your children to a Catholic institution or a Jewish institution or a Muslim institution if you don't necessarily continue with that faith journey?
That's a big question.
Well,
And it is not just schools, it's happening in hospitals.
Right.
There's
When
how
you
many
when you're taken away from your mission, right? And I think a church has a big responsibility in that of not always being honest and upfront.
hmm
And
and I think schools have a responsibility to be mission focused and mission forward.
Mhm.
Even if they have other populations present, there's some type of positive spiritual faith formation for everybody going on as we participate in this thing together.
Right,
And schools just have to be bold about that.
right.
I think they have. to
Well,
be
I do
bold.
hear that from people that say, "Oh, I'm sending my child to this particular school versus this school because this school has a mission statement and has a focus,
Yeah,
and so I know what I'm getting into."
yeah.
Whereas this one is just kind of general, and they don't really say what their mission is, right?
Ethics are being taught at a deeper level. Morals are being taught at a deeper level. Faith formation, personal development,
service.
service, integration, intersectionality.
Yep.
And that's something I think that we need to talk about more in faith formation because that's not happening.
And you see that in some of these charter schools, right? They're not being religious, but they want to bring back ethics,
Yeah.
and they want to
Which
bring
comes from
back
religion.
service.
Philosophy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's all informed by religion.
right. Because you're trying
Still,
you're trying to get your child to be a better person,
yes.
to understand society.
We're almost out of time.
We are. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
However, I think if we can agree to give Father Joe 2 minutes,
Oh, yeah.
final words, what would you want to convey to people listening to this podcast in relation to faith?
Is to take the time to explore your faith or get involved. There's many different ways. Trying to find a community that brings you life.
Yes.
You don't always have to agree 100% with everything,
Right.
Okay.
but that you feel like you're welcomed, you're accepted, they value you as a human person, and that they treat you with respect and dignity. That's not 2 minutes, but I'd go with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been God Talk with Father Joe.
Woo.
Amen.
Thank you for coming.
Good job.